Hi, good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. It's a very exciting board meeting where we get to honor many of our accomplished students. I know it's very busy this time of year, so appreciate you coming out. Please rise for the pledge. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Megan, second Henry. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 5-0. Okay, Mr. Poole, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Anderson. Welcome. Good evening, everyone. I'll start off with a congratulations to all the students that attended the Class of 2022 Senior Award and Scholarship Award evening last night. Also thank the Shoreham-Wading community for all of their generous scholarships. Over $60,000 in scholarships were awarded last night. Very special to see senior Billy Steele get the acceptance to West Point last night as well. So just a great night. Tomorrow the award ceremonies continue. There'll be an assembly for underclassmen awards, and the athletic award event is scheduled for next Monday evening. I also, over at the high school, I do want to give a shout out, if you haven't had a chance to see it, to the students that are the writers and editors of the Wildcat Pause. Just an amazing edition of the paper this month. Great journalism. And then to the artists and writers who do the annual Symbols publication. So hats off to those students for both of those publications. Seniors are having I hope, a great end to the year. This past Friday, they had a chance to feel like children again when they spent the day at the Country Fair Amusement Park. And this coming Friday, they'll watch the senior video, have a barbecue, and participate in their final field day as Shoreham-Wading River students. So some wonderful events for our seniors that have been ongoing. Over at the middle school, I'd like to congratulate our middle school band students who put on a fabulous performance during their spring concert last Thursday. The orchestra spring performance is scheduled for this Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. Yesterday and today, the 7th grade class went on a class trip to Connecticut for some outdoor learning. They participated in orienteering, a trout hatchery study, and hiking the beautiful grounds of the Connecticut State Park. Over at Wading River, our 5th graders are learning about the Long Island Sound, the ecology of the Sound, and we're fortunate enough to sail on the Sound Waters schooner with a team of environmental educators. They are sailing from Port Jefferson Harbor and into the Sound and in our local waters. 4th graders at Wading River journey to Sylvester Manor on Shelter Island for the first time ever. Half the group went today, and the other half are heading there next week. 3rd graders are studying bicycle and traffic safety through visits to Safety Town. They've also visited the Holtzville Ecology Center as part of the trip to extend their learning in science. And just recently, the annual Revolutionary War reenactment was held past Friday, complete with a cavalry demonstration. So lots of great events happening at Wading River. Over at Miller Avenue this past week, 120 incoming kindergarten students. Right now, kindergarten enrollment is up to 132. But 120 students in kindergarten attended screening at Miller Avenue. Incoming kindergarten children met with staff members, gathered information to assist them with starting the school year successfully next year, and to help our educators learn more about those students that are coming to school for the first time in September. The 2nd grade students are visiting the Long Island Aquarium this week for an interactive and exciting field trip. Students will be touring the museum and taking a ride on the Atlantis Explorer boat down the Peconic River. So great to hear that all of our academic field experiences are in full swing. Just a brief update on Universal Pre-Kindergarten. Our UPK lottery parents have been notified about the SCOPE program at Wading River. Our maintenance team is shortly going to begin the work of reinstalling stored toilets back into the bathrooms in those 2 rooms, and we'll be working with SCOPE and St. Anselm's to get ready for that new program for next year. I do want to give a shout out for District Board of Education committees. District committees are open for applications: Space and Facilities, Auditing Committee, a Legislative Committee, Technology Committee. Please visit our webpage for information on how to apply. Committees are a great way to be involved and provide input and do not require a major time commitment. Just an update. I want to thank the community for taking the communications survey maybe about a month and a half ago. We have reached out randomly to about 30 parents and guardians in the school district, and they were invited to attend a communication survey roundtable tomorrow night, just to answer some follow-up questions that we had as we reviewed the survey results. And I look forward to sharing with the board and the community the results of the survey and the roundtable in the near future. On the agenda tonight, as Ms. Anderson noted, it's wonderful. We have lots of student recognition, so welcome students and families. We also have on the agenda tonight an update on revisions to the elementary report card. I want to thank Mr. Meinster, our elementary principals, Dr. Palicelli, Ms. Walbauer, and our teachers, K-5, for taking the time to revise those and share that work that they've completed this evening. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. So we'll go right into student staff recognitions, and I know that everybody is preparing for finals. You're welcome to leave as soon as this portion of the board meeting is over, and then we'll go into reports and reviews, but of course everyone is always welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting. Our first recognition is for Olivia Stowell, and Olivia has been our ex officio student board member for this year. Mr. Puglisi is going to share with us what an ex officio board member is and just speak a little bit about Olivia.
Thank you very much. It is absolutely a pleasure to be here tonight. Each spring, we begin the process of looking for ex officio members, and that's the student representative to the Board of Education. We send out a fairly lengthy email blast out to all junior families indicating the need or request for members. We feel that having that student perspective is incredibly important on the Board of Education and very unique to our to Long Island. There aren't many districts that do this, so it's certainly something very special for our students to be able to take part in. So each year we get a number of applications, we screen through them, we look for students who are interested in public policy, those who are interested in the operations of the school board, and then we bring them on board. I know from feedback from everyone in the Board of Education and among district office that Olivia served in this role admirably throughout the year, lending her perspective as a student here at the high school, and I hope for her gaining very valuable insights and experience that will stay with her moving forward. So, it is with great pleasure that we do recognize Olivia tonight as serving as our ex officio member this year.
Thank you, Mr. Puglisi.
You're very welcome.
Olivia, if you don't mind coming up, we have a certificate for you, and I just wanted to share while Olivia is coming up that Olivia's feedback and questioning when developing our new Academic Success Center was certainly appreciated by the board amongst the other feedback and perspectives that she's offered throughout the year, but that in particularly definitely offered student voice as that program was being shaped, and thank you for the numerous hours that you spent with us, Olivia. I'm going to invite Mr. Puglisi back to the podium to introduce our valedictorian and salutatorian.
Thank you very much. Last night, we publicly, for the first time, recognized our valedictorian and salutatorian right here on stage in our senior awards night. I will call up to the stage our valedictorian right now, Miss Lauren Halloran. Unfortunately, our salutatorian, Mr. Eric Epp, has a previous commitment tonight. He is at the Suffolk County Tennis Awards dinner. Once again, our boys tennis team, county champs for the first time in 30 plus years. So congratulations to that amazing team.
Next up, we have our Director of Humanities, Ms. Nicole Waldbauer, who is going to be presenting on the seal of biliteracy.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about a very special program that we actually just put into place for the first time this school year in Shoreham-Wading River. We have 6 students that we will be honoring this evening. I handed the medals off to Mr. Passamonte. He's pretty good with medals, I think. And the certificates Mr. Puglisi has. So when I get to that point, we'll have the students come up to get their medallion award and their certificate. But before we do that, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this process, the program, and of course the students. So the New York State Seal of Biliteracy is an award given by a school district that formally recognizes students who have attained a high level of proficiency in 2 or more world languages, one of which must be English. And they must accomplish this by high school graduation. The intent of the New York State Seal of Biliteracy is to encourage the study of languages, to identify high school graduates with language and biliteracy skills for employers, to provide universities with additional information about applicants, to prepare students with 21st century skills, to recognize the value of language instruction, and to affirm the value of diversity in a multilingual society. We are here tonight to recognize 6 outstanding seniors who have met the rigorous criteria to earn the seal at this year's graduation. This was a challenging journey for these students who were required to earn 3 points in English and 3 points in another world language from a points matrix, which includes exceptional course grades, national or state exams, transcripts, and culminating projects. Our 2022 New York State Seal of Biliteracy award-winning graduates have earned a special New York State seal on their diploma and a medallion that Mr. Passamonte is holding to be worn at graduation. Tonight, we will be presenting their medallions and a certificate. Before we meet our New York State Seal of Biliteracy students, I want to recognize and thank the New York State Seal of Biliteracy Committee for their work this school year to help get this program into place. Representatives from the district and high school administration, the high school and middle school guidance departments, and the high school English, E&L, and World Languages departments came together frequently throughout this year to create informational flyers, craft messages and letters to students and parents, to enter craft messages, to enter information on the website, into course books, and throughout the school community. We worked on applications to the State Ed Department, on creating the SWR English and World Language projects, on selecting rubrics to evaluate student projects, and on getting mentors into place for each of these 6 students who committed to pursuing the seal. We created a panel of project and presentation evaluators, including a Portuguese native speaker that we secured through BOE to join our panel. Once we certified that all of our students met the New York State Seal criteria, we reported this to the Office of Bilingual Studies in Albany, and then determined how we wanted to celebrate these incredibly brave and biliterate students. So here we are tonight to celebrate these amazing students, the very first group to earn the New York State Seal of Biliteracy in Shoreham-Wading River School District. You're all the firsts. So our first student is Anthony Antanasio. Ms. Barron shared that Anthony is one of the most hardworking students she's ever encountered. He greets every assignment and challenge with motivation and optimism. For the SEAL project, he researched Catalonia's independence movement and created a convincing argument against the region's secession. As his teacher and the panel judges, we learned a lot about the movement from his work and research, things we never knew before. Anthony truly embodies all of the characteristics of a lifelong language learner and is very deserving of this award. So congratulations, Anthony. And joining Anthony will be Andrea Castillo-Manas. According to Ms. Aegis, Andrea spoke both Spanish and English at home, which was an advantage. However, even with that, she spent hours timelessly perfecting her two projects, in English and Spanish, to achieve the seal. She chose topics that interested her, the environment and virtual learning, and really dove into her research. Ms. Aegis and Andrea practiced her presentation, we think probably about 20 times, but each time she was looking for ways to improve. Andrea showed her dedication to earning the seal, and we are very proud of her for all of this work that she put into this achievement. And joining them will be Liam McGuire. Ms. Aegis shared that Liam had fulfilled the English requirements for the seal through his AP language grades and score, but he still had to do the entire Spanish project. And for a non-native speaker, that can be daunting. Instead of choosing a pre-existing class paper and expanding on it, Liam chose to write a paper from scratch. In Spanish 4, he watched the Motorcycle Diaries, and he was interested in the protagonist, Che Guevara. He decided to read a book and articles to find more information out about him. Liam became an expert on Che and was able to answer any question about him that the committee posed in Spanish. Liam worked really hard and is most deserving of this Seal of Biliteracy Award. Congratulations, Liam. And joining Liam is Maria Clara Mendez. Ms. Vike Kearney describes Clara as determined, conscientious, hardworking, empathetic, kind, and even a little stubborn. However, the adjective that fits Clara best is the positive connotation of stubborn, resilient. However, she has faced some monumental challenges head-on in her 3 years here since arriving from Para, Brazil, not speaking a word of English or Spanish, which were the language learners who would ultimately become her inner group. Because Clara left Brazil 2 weeks before the end of the school year, by the way, with excellent grades in her home language, which is what helped her earn some points toward the seal, she was informed by guidance that she would have to repeat the 9th grade. So to that end, Clara doubled her workload this school year and completed the 11th and 12th grade requirements in order to graduate this year. Her work ethic resulted in her making the list of academic achievement or honor roll every quarter of every school year. Clara is our first and a very special English language learner at Shoreham-Wading River to achieve the Seal of Biliteracy, and we know she will do great things for this world. So congratulations, Clara. Joining Clara will be Abigail Sisler. Congratulations, Abigail. And according to Miss Barron, Abby is very motivated and so independent. All year long in AP Spanish, she has taken advantage of every opportunity to participate and improve her skills. When it came time to doing this project, she completely took the lead. Miss Barron and Abby met periodically to check in about ideas and her progress, but Abby was truly in charge of the whole process. Her independence, organization, and motivation is unmatched. Miss Barron shared that she is proud to have been her teacher throughout the year and throughout this seal process. So congratulations, Abby. And finally, Natalie Zahn. Miss Barron shared that Natalie is meticulous in her work. She seeks out every opportunity to learn from constructive criticism and does not stop until the end product is near perfect. Although she was very busy outside of school during her senior year, she still made the time to earn the seal. During the process, she put herself outside of her comfort zone, and Ms. Barron saw her confidence and abilities grow exponentially. We know her success and confidence will only continue to grow into the future. So congratulations, Natalie. And once again, a huge round of applause for all 6 of our New York State Seal of High Literacy Shoreham-Wading River graduates. Congratulations.
Ms. Waldauer, would you mind coming to the stage along with Mr. Puglisi for a photo with the students? Great, thank you. Congratulations again. No, I'll stay out this time. Next up, we have our exceptional academic seniors recognized by Mr. Puglisi and Mr. Holonia.
Thank you very much. So tonight, for the Board of Education, I do want to present these exceptional academic seniors. These 46 seniors all maintained a 95 or better weighted GPA, cumulative weighted GPA, through the second marking period of their senior year. If that isn't exceptional, I really don't know what is. Throw on top of that all the challenges, all the struggles that they went through very different learning atmospheres. I think more than ever, this group deserves to be recognized. So, in alphabetical order, and when I call your name, please make your way up on stage. Natalie Acker. Teresa Adams. Selena Ali. Anthony Atanasio. Liam Bose. Kaylee Carberry. Sophia Carmona. Andrea Castillo-Manas. Nikki Christine. Emily Cook. Francisco Cortez. Carly Cuttinella. Olivia DeLaison. Lauren DeRosso. William Fitzpatrick. Duval. Got cut off, I apologize. Katie Dinowitz. Our salutatorian who could not be here tonight, Eric Epp. Catherine Erb. Jake Field. Thomas Flame. Liam Flatley. Nicholas Giordano. Valedictorian Lauren Halloran. Elizabeth Holden. Joel Ialachi. Craig Jablonski. Thomas Lane. William Leonard. Morgan Lynch. Gianna Mango. Sarah McAuliffe. Gina McGivney. Liam McGuire. Chloe McNamara. Timothy McQueenie. Crystal Meyer. James Mellinson. Brianna Meskill. Christina Nicosia. James Preventure. Hasnat Rana. Rachel Scarborough. Abigail Sisler. Brett Smith. Jake Whitney. And Natalie Zahn.
Congratulations to all our exceptional academic seniors. If you could just stay on the stage, and Mr. Puglisi, would you mind coming up for a photo? Last but not least, we have our spring athletics recognitions by Mr. Pasamonte.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here and recognize our athletes at Shoreham. I'd like to start out with our end of season awards. These were awards that the students received from their participation either through the county. Students, if you're here, I'll go team by team, and if you are here, just stand where you are to be recognized. And I would ask everyone, as we do each team, to hold your applause till the end of the team is read. Thank you. I would like to start out, as I do every season, with the Scholar Athlete teams. All of our spring varsity teams achieve Scholar Athlete status, which means 75% of the roster has an average of 90 or greater. This spring, we had 208 varsity athletes. 143, or 69%, maintained a 90 or higher average. With that, coupling that with our fall and with our winter seasons, all of our teams this year, all varsity teams, made Scholar Athlete status, which again will be recognized by New York State as a school of distinction. I put that paperwork in, and we'll get a nice trophy, I guess, if you want to call that, and I'll share that with you in the fall. But that's why we're here, and congratulations to all the athletes for that. Starting out with boys track, coached by Joe Mardarski and assisted by Brendan Gilly and Paul Anderson and Phoebe Anderson. Again, students, if you're here, if you would just stand, and we'll wait to hold applause till the end of each sport. For all league, James Washburn, Michael DeVita, Wes O'Reilly, Michael Hubner, Patrick Shea, Will Hart, and Jake Smith. All county, James Washburn. Shoreham's most improved were Michael DeVita and Kyle Cavalier. Shoreham co-MVP was James Washburn, and James and Patrick will be competing in the state championships this weekend in Syracuse. James will be in the 400 intermediate hurdles, and Patrick will compete in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. Congratulations to boys track. Moving on to girls golf, coached by Deb Lutchen. The all-league was Melanie Hagan, all-county and all-state Melanie Hagan, all-academic Melanie Hagan, Sarah Alessi, Grace Barra, Catherine Donnelly, Julia Hassid, Ella Larson, Carly Mulroy, and Abigail Sisler. Also, Melanie just came back this weekend. She placed 6th in the county, and she competed in the state championships up near Albany. Coach Lutchen traveled with her along with Melanie's parents. Melanie finished 11th in New York State. She was the top Suffolk finisher. She's only a junior, and I think we're going to see more from her. So congratulations to girls golf and Melanie. For those of you that are golfers, I know her first round she shot a 78, and then she shot an 83, so not too shabby. Moving on to girls track, scholar athlete team coached by Paul Koretsky and Bob Szymanski, assisted by Bob Szymanski. All league, Maddie McKiernan, Madison Zellen, Emma Granshaw, Colleen Ortman, Ellie Connell, Sydney Elbert. All league, Sydney Elbert, Madison Zellen, Emma Granshaw, Olivia Pesso, Naomi Harris, Sophie Levy, Anna Minetti, and Giovanna Olivio. And congratulations to Madison Zellen, who was the county champion in the 400-meter hurdles. Madison will compete in this event in Syracuse this weekend as well with the boys. Good luck, Madison. Also, girls track, congratulations to the 4x800 relay team who won the county championship. The relay consisted of Emma Granshaw, Maddie McKiernan, Colleen Ortman, and Ellie Connell. And that summarizes girls track. Good job, girls. Moving on to softball. Softball was a scholar athlete team. They're coached by Bill King and assisted by Tom Verizer. All county, Aaron Cahill. Second team all county were Lindsay Cahill and Lauren Holleran. And all league was Elizabeth Savino and Emma Donnelly. Congratulations to the softball players. Moving on to baseball, they were League 7 champs, scholar athlete team, coached by Kevin Willey, assisted by Brian Ferguson. All league, Liam Bowes, Billy Steele, Joey Marchese, Kyle Engman, Greg Friedman, Matt Verone. All county, Liam Bowes, Billy Steele, and Joey Marchese. All academic, Vincent LaRose, and the MVP was Billy Steele. Congratulations, baseball. Moving on to girls lacrosse, scholar athlete team. Team was coached by Alex Femmel and assisted by Alexa Punzone. I messed that up a lot this season, Alex and Alexa. That was fun. But anyways, they did a great job for their first season. All conference was Mia Rosati. All division, Annie Sheehan and Brooke Melcher. All county, Catherine Erb, Carly Cutnella, and Grace Ann Leonard. All county honorable mention, Alexa Constant and Abigail Barron. The unsung hero was Charlotte Erb. Rookie of the year was Grace Kitchen. Most improved was Maggie Harding. And I would like to say that this is the first year the girls were back in the county championship game. They played a great game against Bayport for those of you that were able to attend. And that's the first time, I think, since Coach Femmel was a junior at Shoreham. So they led them to the county championship game. Congratulations, girls. Boys lacrosse scholar athlete team, coached by Mike Taylor and assisted by Dan Luciano and Dave Bates. All division, Alec Gregoric, Franny Cortez, Liam Kirschus, Jake Whitney, Liam Gregoric, Ryan Herr, Alex Kirschus, Dylan Zahn, Ryan Farron, Jaden Galfano, Liam Taylor, Luke Gorman, Liam Leonard, Stephen Kane. All county, Alec Gregoric, Franny Cortez, Liam Kirschus, Jake Whitney, and Liam Gregoric. An honorable mention, all county, was Ryan Herr. The team lost a tough one in the county championship game, but had another great season. Congratulations, boys lacrosse. Moving on to tennis. Unfortunately, the tennis kids couldn't be here tonight because they have their all-county dinner, but I will recognize them. And as Mr. Pugliese said earlier, they were the Suffolk County Small Schools champ. They beat Bayport, and then they went on to play Wheatley in the Long Island Championship. But this is the first, in from what we know from the records, 36 years. So that was pretty awesome. So congratulations. All county, 8th grader Ray Hidaka. All league, Jason Lutz, Eric Epp, Dong Kai Zhang, and Travis Finnegan. And I would also like to read the members of the county championship team, coached by Joe Carrasco, Jaden Alvarado, Christian Boss, Nick Shantis, William DeMeo, Eric Epp, Jake Field, Travis Finnegan, Ray Hidaka, Craig Jablonski, Jason Lutz, Liam McGuire, Carlo Manecci, and Dong Zai Zhang. Congratulations, boys tennis. And last, for those of you that were able to attend any of the unified basketball games, it's an experience. And if you didn't get to one this year, next year when we have unified, it's worth it. It's what it's all about. It's tremendous to see the kids out there having so much fun, the coaches doing a great job, and just seeing both teams compete. And in my 29 plus years, this is the first year I've seen unified, and for those that were able to see it, it is something. It's well worth it, and I'm glad we're able to do that. There's 29 schools in Suffolk County now that are doing unified, and supposedly more sports are coming down the pike. So looking forward to that. That was coached by Matt Milheiser, and Matt was assisted by a number of his TAs in his room, and the most improved was Haley Petruzzi, and the MVP was Danny Brewer. Congratulations, unified basketball. And lastly, as I mentioned at the start, that we had 143 student scholar athletes. If you bear with me, if we can hold our applause to the end, and if you are here. Actually, before I do that, I want to recognize any coaches that are here tonight from the spring. I saw Coach Taylor, I saw Coach Femmel, Coach Planzone, Coach Lutchen. Any coaches, would you please stand up, please, so we can recognize you? They put a lot of time in with our students, and they do a great job. So thank you, coaches. Okay, here we go. Scholar athletes, if you're here, if you would please stand. Haley Abrams, Jake Elbert, Sydney Elbert, Sarah Alessi, Christian Boss, Tiana Barone, Grace Barra, Danny Brewer, Abigail Barron, Madison Bergen, Maya Beiersdorfer, Connor Blunny, Liam Bose, Dylan Burnham Klassen, Marissa Cacchiola, Lindsay Cahill, Stephen Kane, Matt Cerniglia, Nick Shantis, Peter Christ, Analia Clemente, Chris Colon, Dan Colon, Jack Cuomo, Alexa Constant, Ellie Connell, Emily Cook, Alyssa Corso, Kayla Corso, Franny Cortez, Carly Cutnella, Caroline DeAndrea, Alex Dawson, Will Duvall, Mike DeVita, Catherine Donnelly, Emma Donnelly, Kyle Engman, Eric Epp, Catherine Erb, Charlotte Erb, Jesse Femmel, Jake Field, Travis Finnegan, Frank Fontanelle, Jake Formasano, Jeremy Franco, Nick Freelander, Greg Friedman, Amelia Garcia, John Gordon, Luke Gorman, Emma Granshaw, Dan Green, Melanie Hagan, Lauren Holleran, Maggie Harding, Naomi Harris, Will Hart, Julia Hasid, Abigail Haverty, Ryan Herr, Ray Hidaka, Anthony Higgins, Brett Hudson, Kelsey Hughes, Celine Hunt, Craig Jablonski, Adam Jews, Hannah Kershus, Liam Kershus, Bobby King, Grace Kitchen, Callie Kraus, Caitlin Leahy, Lindsay Langella, Ella Larson, Soph Levy, Grace Ann Leonard, Will Leonard, Morgan Lesowitz, Ryan Logan, Juliana Luck, Juliana Mahan, Alex Markowitz, Brandon Maldonado, Reese Marcario, Laura Marino, Shay McGivney, Karen McGuire, Liam McGuire, Maddie McKiernan, Tim McQueenie, Brooke Melcher, Gavin Melcher, Will Miller, Grace Minerick, Anna Minetti, James Minetti, Sophia Minion, Carly Mulroy, Jocelyn Nastasi, Colleen Ortman, Giovanna Olivo, Wes O'Reilly, Ryan O'Shaughnessy, Anthony Osnes, Noah Parinello, Olivia Pesso, Haley Petruzzi, Jessica Platts, Lauren Pollock, Angelina Price, Hannah Rayfuse, Emma Riley, Mia Rosati, Jack Rubin, Gina Ruggiero, Emily Ruta, Elizabeth Sabino, Kyle Schiff, Emily Schmalzi, Ken Schmidt, Patrick Shea, Reagan Shea, Cameron Sheedy, Annie Sheehan, Abigail Sisler, Jake Smith, Sophia Stadler, Billy Steele, Nick Stella, Olivia Stowell, Sam Sweet, Matt Verone, Aaron Vetter, Chris Vignola, Jake Whitney, Natalie Wilson, Vincent Worthington, Madison Zellen, Dong Kai Zhang, and Rebecca Zorkash. Great job, everybody. And would all the athletes that were recognized please come on up to the stage? We'll get a picture. Thank you.
If we could have our coaches and assistant coaches come up as well as Mr. Pasamonte and Mr. Puglisi, that would be wonderful. Congratulations again, and thank you especially to our seniors for coming out for 2 nights in a row. It was very exciting to recognize you late until the evening last night. Hi. Yeah, how many, what do you need?
He's a nice guy. He hands out things.
Okay, next on our agenda, I'm going to have Mr. Meinster come up, as well as Mr. Parinello and Ms. Smith, to provide the board with an update on the elementary report cards.
Would have been nice to get before and afters of the report cards. All they do is give us the new report cards. I'm like, all right.
Oh, Ricky, but it's not showing. You'll do that? There you go. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share with you and introduce our Elementary Report Card Committee, led by our chair people, Mr. Parinello and Ms. Smith. The elementary report cards are updated periodically to reflect the new standards and any of the other changes that we want to introduce to our program, so that parents have the opportunity to reflect on what our students are doing in their elementary classes. This has been a process that is connected into the work of the Curriculum Development Committee and is closely tied to our goals of making sure that we are matching our program and our needs to the needs of our students. In a moment, I will be introducing, I'll be turning it over to the 2 elementary principals, but I wanted to thank them and all of the teachers that have spent over the last 2 years working on this to make sure that our elementary report cards reflect what we ideally would like for our students. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our 2 elementary principals, Mr. Parinello and Mrs. Smith.
Good evening to our Board of Education, district office members, and the community. And thank you, Mr. Meinster. I'd like to start off just talking a little bit about the timeline that we've had over the past few years. And Mr. Meinster is actually incorrect. It's not 2 years, it's almost 3 years that we've been working on this. You forgot the year with COVID in there. So, and the reason it's been 3 years is because we had to take a break because of our close down a while back, and we picked it up again last spring, but really just recapped and started over this year in the fall. But it has been a 3-year process, should have been probably a 1-year process, but I just want to start on behalf of Mr. Parinello and myself, really thanking the teachers that were part of this committee. We had many teachers over the past few years that were on the committee. Some stayed with us the full length of time, some just weren't able to commit. We do have a number of teachers that came tonight to join the committee, so I would like to announce their names. We have Ms. Caitlin Dennehy, we have Ms. Carly Basson, Ms. Cara Behrens, Mr. Ralph Jimenez, Ms. Linda Mattia, and Ms. Carrie Ann DeMoro. So I just want to thank them for coming tonight. Like I said, about 3 years ago, we sat together, and one of the first things that we did is we met as a committee and talked about what our goal for the committee was. And obviously, we were reshaping and restructuring the elementary report card, and we sketched out a timeline of what we wanted that to look like. And one of our first steps was reviewing report cards from various districts, and doing ours. So we gathered numerous report cards from all over Long Island, and we spent a great deal of time reviewing them, looking at the structure of the report card, the wording of the report card, the keys on the report card, how notations were made on the report card, and we looked at what we thought was beneficial, what we thought would work with our families here in Shoreham-Wading River, and compared it to our report cards. We quickly realized that we liked the structure of a report card, but that we definitely needed some updates. At that point, a very important part of our committee was to put a survey out to the elementary teachers, because we didn't want it just to be our decision. We wanted input from all of the elementary teachers. So the committee put together a survey that went out to all elementary teachers, asking many of the questions that we had spoken about. We then came together, we reviewed the survey. We also met with teachers at that time during professional development to have some conversations about what they liked about the report card, things that they thought maybe needed to change. We came back, gathered all of that information. So we really wanted it to be a collaborative effort amongst all elementary. We started to look at the standards, where they matched in the report cards and where there were some gaps that we needed to. And then we really dove into the collaborative work. And the collaborative work was a very long process. That's mainly what we did this entire school year. It was looking at each academic area and matching it up to New York State standards and making sure that it met all of the criteria that we had spoken about with our goals. At that point, we brought our drafts back to the buildings and gave the opportunity for all teachers to look at the drafts together by grade level, by special area, and then give us feedback that went to the committee. So we took their feedback and tweaked the report card, looked at that so that once again everybody had a say. And now we're here. We did present to CDC also, but now we bring it to you for our presentation. A couple things that you'll notice when Mr. Parinello shows the report card, some of the changes was really adjusting the report cards to meet the standards, any standards or the wording of the standards, and that was looking at each and every standard and how it applied to our report cards, and what we had as indicators on our report cards. Something that was very important to the committee and to our elementary teachers was simplifying language. Simplifying language so that all community members and all stakeholders could really have an understanding of what that meant. So you know that when you read the New York State standards, sometimes they might be a little bit confusing, and we certainly didn't want our report card to be confusing at all. We also wanted to make sure that all indicators on each report card could be assessed each marking period. And this is something that our teachers felt very strongly about, is we no longer wanted we wanted an area that we would have an NA on. We wanted it to be, what does this look like for this group of students at this time? And that is something that we worked very hard on. We still have some steps for the future. We still have to work on articulation documents that will match our report cards, and a couple more tweakings that we have to do. But at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Parinello, who will share some of the drafts with you.
Thank you. That's great. So if you look, let's see if we can pull up a draft here. If you take a look, Ricky, can you work your magic and switch over from the presentation mode to that toggle to the report card? Let's see. The magic is happening behind the scenes. Got some neat new equipment back there, which is great. When the report cards populate up there, I have faith in you, Ricky. Don't worry, it's coming. When the report cards populate up on the top, you're going to see the key. And it used to be 4, 3, 2, 1. You okay? Do you need me to do something, Ricky? I'm going to exit out of the presentation mode for you. Okay? Well, as I can see, can you see the report cards over there? Yes? Okay.
We have a, in our backup documentation, we have a copy of it, but we'll be sure to have this presentation on the website, if it's not possible to have it on the screen at this moment.
We're going to make it happen.
It's right
Okay.
there.
All right, thank you.
We always have a plan B, anyone that knows us. So, of course, I can't see what, okay, I see what you did, Ricky. You put it onto a different screen. All right, sounds good. I can go with this. All right, so I'm going to try to increase this a little bit. View, instead of 100%. Let's go with 200% because I don't have my glasses. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, can you see? Okay. So up on the key, instead of the 4, 3, 2, 1, which parents understood after a long time, we really thought as a committee, as a team, as an elementary group moving forward, to go to the E. That's consistently meets grade level standards with independence and excellence. And G, you're doing great. You're doing good. You're appropriate for grade level. That's where the vast majority are going to be. And P is just progressing towards independence and grade level standards. And N is, not yet there. So we wanted to frame it in positive language to help encourage children to continue to achieve. So let me just see how I can scroll down here. Yep, yeah, sure.
So I'll add to that for a second. So with the key, our former report card had more than one key on it. So it had 2 different keys that was used. So we simplified it and have one key for the entire report card to make it a little bit easier to understand rather than trying to go back and forth between the 2 different keys. This now applies to the entire report card.
Absolutely. Stay up. Okay, it's all good. Okay, so as you can see in let's say in math, social studies, and all the subject areas, you'll see a separate portion for effort. Thank you. Because research shows and experience shows, just like you saw all those incredible high school students getting awards, it's the effort that you put into something, and that shows and grows over time. So if you're putting in that effort, we wanted to recognize it in each subject area, so you can see that cutting across. A big change, something that we really want to highlight, we talk about social emotional learning. We wanted to codify it in a format that would ease the conversation between teachers and parents, right in the report card. So right here, something that the committee put together and shared out with the teachers and got a lot of support, a lot of positive feedback on, there's an SEL section. And we saw that at some exemplary school districts around, and we wanted to take it, we really took it to the next level. And just, you could see right there, just respecting rights, others' rights, feelings, and property, accepts responsibility for our own behavior, works well with others. Those are important qualities that we want to imbue in children and help them grow throughout their years in Shoreham-Wading River. And of course, our habits of support learning, just like Mrs. Smith mentioned, tried to simplify it, put it into one spot for everyone. We tried not to have duplicates too. If they were, uses time effectively here, we didn't want to have anything in another area. The teachers were really excellent at that. Again, streamlining this to make it so much easier. I mean, we looked at report cards, some that were like multiple pages, and we talked to people in the district like it's too much, it's overwhelming. And then we saw some that were much more streamlined. We got a lot of feedback on that it worked, that it just eased the conversations. And as you scroll through, this is an example of a kindergarten report card, but as you can go through each grade, they're very consistent across the grades so that the parents can see the strands grow throughout their years. There's a slight change as you move from kindergarten to first grade and then from second grade to third grade, but essentially most of the strands are very, very similar. Benchmark reading levels are still there, so parents can see approximately where their children should be each grade level. You can see each trimester, TUUV right there. And I just want to thank Mr. Meinster for his support behind the scenes, for Mrs. Wallbauer's support, for Mr. Joe Paulicelli was there kind of at the end cheering on. So, and all the teachers were just instrumental in bringing this to light. Do you have any questions?
Oh, you don't?
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
You mentioned in the presentation slide, creation of articulation documents.
Okay, so.
So the articulation documents is something that we currently have, and it can be found on the district website also. So articulation document will explain each one of the indicators, what a teacher is looking for. So, and it matches up. So that's something that we have to now revise to go along with the new report card. Now, some of the articulation document that we currently have we'll use, but it will be a revision process. So what we will do afterwards is we will be forming groups to work on the articulation document to match the new report card. These will be really beneficial, especially at parent conferences and when parents are reviewing a student's progress. Something that you would have right out. You know, for example, if we're accurately retelling text, it's what I see up there, we would have that next to us, and you could give examples of that so that it's much more specific. We don't want too much on the report card, it becomes too wordy, but it's sort of a reference sheet that you could use to match up. So for each academic area, for each grade, there would be a document to match.
Okay, so it would be a standard for
Yep.
each of those grades? then?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely,
Okay.
for K through 5.
Great, thank you.
And each grade obviously would have their own, it's just a tool to help make sure that teacher A is grading the same as teacher B is teacher C.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I was asking the question, because I know years past, you know, my kids have gone through the elementary grades, and I've always noticed, you know, I guess an individuality between the teachers with what they showed as backup work to kind of substantiate the grade and how the progress was going. So that would be nice if there was some uniformity between the teachers to kind of level out what those examples are. That helps. Good suggestion.
I'm really excited about the SEL section. I think that that's a phenomenal ad. And my question with regard to that section is, will we have a rubric of sorts for parents who maybe can then help at home to guide students on examples of what's being looked for and what is grade level or exceeding grade level, for example?
Absolutely, I think it's a great tool, and it'll look different for a child in kindergarten, most likely, than it will for a child in 3rd grade, let's say. So just go with the grade levels. That'll be part of that articulation document. Yes, great.
Okay, great. Because it's not something that necessarily is measurable in grades, you know, in terms of scoring on tests. And so to be able to, you know, have parents as partners working toward those goals, and to understand that it's not necessarily subjective, but specific and measured would be super helpful. Thank you. Thank you to the committee for your 3 years of efforts. We're greatly appreciative of that. Okay, thank you. Next up, we have votes and resolutions. Can I get a motion to approve the April 12th, 2022 public session minutes? Mike, second. Megan, any discussion or questions? All in favor? 5-0. We have 6 policies up for second read. Is it okay to get a motion? Well, first, let me take a motion to accept these 6 policies. Megan, second. Mike, any discussion or questions? Is it okay to accept and adopt these policies as presented? All in favor? 5-0. Next up, we have 2 curriculum and instruction resolutions, 329 and 330. Okay to take these 2 together. Can I get a motion to accept 329 and 330? Megan, Jim, any discussion or questions? All in favor? 5-0. Two business and operations resolutions, 331, 332. Can we take these together? Can I get a motion to accept these two resolutions? Mike, second Jim. Any discussion or questions?
This is what we termed the piggyback contract, so we're picking from, I guess, something that was already competitively bid. But the proposal from the contractor seems to be a lump sum value, so do we have the backup for how they get to the 15,800?
Yes.
Okay, and that's also based on a visual inspection of the facility and how they came up with that?
Yes, it is.
Perfect, great. Thank you for that clarification.
Any further questions? All in favor? 5-0. Next, we have our personnel agenda. Can I get a motion to vote on the personnel agenda? Jim, second Megan. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 5-0. Next up, we have, I don't think we have any communications. No, okay. Next up, we have discussion, trustee request for establishment of a bond committee. And last public session, Mike Lewis had asked the board to consider establishing a bond committee for this summer. And so we had asked administration to provide us with their feedback and information about what would be involved in doing so.
Well, thank you. So, the role of administration, my role is really to support the Board of Education in making informed decisions in every area, and I think our board does a great job in making those informed decisions. I'd like to think that the administration provides the board with the appropriate information, over time, and certainly for the decision on whether or not to pursue a bond in the school district. There's certainly information that the district and the administrative team can provide, some of those being a fiscal forecast for the school district. What does the upcoming 3 to 5 year projections look like? How does a bond play into that? Certainly a list of current projects that have been reviewed by Space and Facilities. I would recommend some consultation with the district architect on a bond proposal and future bond projects, considerations of interest rates, a fresh review of the buildings, whether that's a building condition survey or an annual visual inspection. I believe the building condition survey is not due for 2 years. An annual visual inspection is due for this year. An annual visual inspection may not be in depth enough to review, so maybe a fresh look at the buildings in consideration with a list of projects that is already established. Certainly looking at the building aid thresholds per building, so how much of the work is aidable, how close are we to the state cap on building aid per building. So those are some considerations. And then last, a consideration of Briarcliff and the impact of Briarcliff, or even a potential sale of Briarcliff as a potential funding source for capital projects. So that certainly out of that list is information that administration can provide the board in making a decision as to whether or not to proceed with a bond. It may take a little bit of time to gather some of that together, but that is our role, and be happy to provide the board with that information as they consider pursuing a bond or not.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Poole. So, given that we have a fiscal condition report that Mr. Curie is putting together for this summer, already in the works and already requested by the board as part of our strategic plan, and the work that's been ongoing as a result of our strategic plan, and the additional information such as the building aid projections, and within the fiscal condition report, I would hope that we would also, I can expect that Mr. Arcuri is probably putting together information about like the economic impact and projections for the future in terms of the most perhaps strategic timing for for doing a bond in the near future, if that's what the board wants to do, that we would just hold off on pursuing a bond committee at this moment until we have the fiscal information that's currently being put together. So any other trustees, your perspective on that, certainly welcome, but just making sure that we make a decision with all of the information that's forthcoming at our within the summer meetings.
So I just had a question. Just remind me, the building aid limits that exist now, those didn't exist at the time of the 2016 bond, right? Where the individual buildings were looked at from an aid compensation standpoint?
They did, since the district did not undertake many capital projects prior to the 2015 bond, there was not a lot of aid being received. So as we completed projects, we are beginning to receive aid, and each building, based on building aid units, that is a term related to students, space within the building, there are caps specific to a building for how much allowable state aid based on capital work for that particular building. We have, the Board of Education approved an agreement in the 2021 school year to have an outside fiscal advising firm help us perform the calculation to identify what are the remaining building aid units available for each building. That process is still underway. It is not an easy process. And one of the most challenging features is to present what was the building plan, the building utilization plan before the work was actually finished, and what was the building utilization plan anticipated to be once the work was finished. We are in the process of assisting the fiscal advisor along with the district architect firm to pull the necessary information together so we would be able to have a dollar value as to what building aid units are still available at each of the buildings, which would then determine the value of how many capital expenditure dollars would be aidable on each of those buildings.
Do you know if it's on a rolling basis, similar to like a cash flow analysis, with how much state aid is available per building? Like, as, when the project was completed and what that value was, may have been a year before a prior component of that same bond. Do you know if it's kind of rolling like that?
I would not title it as rolling. I would title it as a project has a payback period.
Right.
As that payback period begins to reach its end, which is a 15-year payback period for renovation type projects and 20 years for a new building, as we begin to reach that payback period, we then are allotted additional building aid units, assuming there isn't a large increase within student enrollment.
Okay, so it's on the whole project, that 15-year term, right? Okay.
Well, a whole project for that particular project. Within each building, there were various state education department projects. So like the science lab project will come off the books sooner because that was completed earlier. The health and safety project done at the middle school, completed in 2010, will come off the books sooner. So that will make building aid units more available for those particular buildings prior to some of the elementary buildings.
Okay, I think I follow what you're saying. So if we looked at some of the projects that we did, what I call the projects that we did during the bond itself, some of those were filed, I guess, at different points, so that's what you would consider a project, right? Not the overall bond itself.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. No, I'm done.
Any other questions?
No, I think that some of these things that were listed, we've talked about this before. Mr. Lewis, you've made this request, and I think that in looking at the bond project that we did the last go-around, I can understand the need for it. But these are important items that we really need in front of us in order to make a research decision in terms of moving forward. I think that was the response we got the last time, and moving forward, I think we need that information in order to start looking at bond committees.
So the information we're requesting as a board is the district fiscal forecast. Now, if I recall, the last time we did this whole bond to the community, we also, and I guess administration did a great job, but it was kind of presented that we were going to get a bond subpayment in our taxes, and they were able to roll that bond payment into the annual budget, which is great. But everyone was expecting that bond payment. It didn't happen. We were able to figure it out and roll it into the annual budget. I'm just concerned that we're not, these are needs that are identified, not only by the district, but potentially by the community. I mean, I've heard from a lot of people that are excited about some of these potential opportunities for their students, whether they're going into kindergarten or going into high school. To accept that as a separate payment to their taxes, why are we not allowing the community to have a decision in this? Why are we looking at this as a overall forecast of the fiscal responsibility or fiscal budget, when this is an outside cost that all school districts discuss? I mean, we did one bond. Did other districts do bonds every 5-6 years for projects just like this to improve their district? I'm still talking. Give me 1 second. I don't see how. What we're doing is we're creating these $7.5 million accounts that we're funding with unspent dollars every year, and we're doing these projects every 4 or 5 years. We're doing a little bit of them. We're not really seeing the impact that we did with the bond. So, like I said, all these projects were previously discussed. I have no problem spending the summer, spending the fall, vetting them out. I think the document that we received earlier today provides all the data that like I said, we went through all these projects already. All these have been reviewed by the architect, by Mr. Arcuri, by Mr. Poole, by the Space and Facilities. We're continually narrowing them down and eliminating them. So when are we going to do them? When are we going to do paving at the middle school? When are we going to do a greenhouse at the high school? When are we going to do the RISE classrooms? When are these? We're going to wait another 2 or 3 years? I don't see it happening.
So I don't see it as an issue of not giving the choice to the community. I see it as collecting information that's needed to make informed decisions before we move forward. We want to give the most accurate information to the community at the time, and these are not separate items. Funding is all a big puzzle piece, so it's a big puzzle that comes together, and one thing impacts another. So
I think that was part of the bond committee lesson. The funding piece was the discovery of the funding was within the bond committee. They didn't have the funding all figured out, and then they said, all right, we have $48 million. What do you guys want to do? It kind of worked in parallel.
So this past budget vote, our voters approved the proposition that is going to be doing some work that was, as far as I understand, identified as part of the bond committee. So through various funding sources, the district has continued to move forward on projects that haven't been able to be captured by that initial bond. And so what additional projects are going to be captured, and what kind of funding picture are we looking at going forward in terms of everything that our buildings need? I think that I'm not sure what you're referencing by 2 or 3 years, but what I'm suggesting is that we wait 2 or 3 months to last time you had asked about this, to just get the remainder of the information that was then going to be supplied to us. So
last time I asked for this was in the fall, and then it was like, oh, it's too we don't have enough time to get it for May. So now I'm asking for it June, or May, June, and now we're pushing it down 2-3 months, and then we're gonna come back to where we were last fall, where we can't do it this May because we don't have enough time. So that's where I'm 2-3 years. This is the conversation that's gonna get kicked down the road until 2-3 years. Then we have to plan it, then we have to bid it, then we have to build it. It's a long process. I've been involved in this. It's long. So if we don't start now, it's just every month, 2 months we wait, turns into years.
So in the fall, when this was brought up, we had COVID as an issue, that we were as an unknown. And so one of the things that occurred in the fall was the decision to establish this budget and then the capital project. So the list was created and presented to the community on the capital projects. And so that proposition was incorporated into our budget, and then the budget was developed, and then Mr. Arcuri said, I'm going to initiate as part of our strategic plan, because see, that's the biggest difference, I think, is last time when the bond was created, the first bond, we didn't have Mr. Poole as our superintendent, and we didn't have a strategic plan that the entire community has been involved in. And so as part of our strategic plan and as part of the beautification of our buildings and grounds, we are on target to assessing other data points this summer that will enable us to have a greater picture of what we need to do and where the funding sources are going to come from. And so I think that naturally the process will be a little different given the change in climate.
Can you remind me the timeline for the building condition surveys? What are we thinking? Do we have a rough idea at this point? Or?
So the annual visual inspection is one required this year, but we are 2 years out for a required building condition survey. There's nothing that stops the Board of Education from, I know as part of the 2015 bond, there was a process where the Board of Education did have an architect review and generate a list outside of the building condition survey and outside of an AVI, if I'm correct, Mr. Arcuri?
Yeah, that's different though. I was just wondering when the standard.
So it would be an architectural review, but may not meet or need to meet the confines of a building condition survey or an annual visual inspection. It could be a review.
Okay. No, yeah, that's what I wanted clarification. Yeah. If the actual one that we do regularly, that's 2 years out though, right?
2 years out, yes.
Okay.
I think my only concern would be if we're going to be dependent on the fiscal climate and assessing that. I mean, we know the state of the economy and the way things are going right now. And depending on, political elections and things of that nature, that can dictate how things change in the future. I think if we set the momentum with regards to how we want the pride in our district, and I feel like the longer that we continue to push these things off, they don't become priorities anymore. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with establishing a bond committee and being proactive. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to allocate or go to the community for a vote at this time, but we should be proactive when it comes to these things that we've identified on this pretty expansive list of improvements that we want to make to the district. I don't know how much more information we typically need that's going to change, our intent on how we move forward.
I think the one very specific thing that we need information about, I think, is the building utilization plan. So it's that's part of the fiscal analysis. So how do we? There's also a fundamental difference between this current picture and last time. Last time there was a development of a list, and this time, thanks to the work of that bond committee, as Mr. Lewis stated, we have a pretty extensive list. So I guess my question would be, what would those initial meetings be like, or what would those meetings, how would they differ from last time, since last time was the creation of a list?
Well, I would think it would be community input, right? So there are going to be members from the community as part of the bond committee. I didn't serve on it, but I'm assuming that's correct, right? So you have that element. When it comes to utilization, I don't know how that factors into the list that we have in front of us, because I don't see really anything on this list that, dictates how the building's going to be utilized. A lot of these are classroom improvements, the RISE program, the fields and the conditions, drainage.
No, I'm not referring to the utilization of the actual building. I'm talking about last time, we don't know how much building aid we're going to be able to get back. So I think we owe it to the community to make those conversations as productive as possible, to provide the community with information about the current interest rate, information about the what kind of building aid we can expect to get back, and then information about what our budgets are going to look like in broad strokes for the next couple of years.
Yeah, but that can constantly change, Katie. So that can expedite the process or it can delay it. We know that. I mean, we really can't plan for those things. I mean, I don't think that, what we're going to get, the information we're going to get in 3 months is going to have a huge impact one way or the other on whether or not we want to take on these projects. And this is something that, to Lewis's point, that the community should be involved with. I think, we can make recommendations, they can provide input. If they feel that it's a valid vote, that they'll vote yes for a bond project. If not, they'll vote no. I just think it's something to consider. I just would hope that we'd be proactive. I just don't think that there's a reason to, I don't think we're being, what's the word I'm looking for? Haphazard or fiscally irresponsible if we start to have those conversations now. And I don't think there's anything that goes into really starting to form a bond committee and get that structure in place so we can start to have these, intelligent conversations. That's all.
Just had a follow-up question. The utilization, what are we looking at for timing on that, roughly? What do we think?
Glenn, you have a sense of the work of the consultants with the building utilization and the state aid units that may be available?
In a Zoom meeting the end of last week that Mr. Meinster, Mrs. Reed, and then myself, we are still about a month to 6 weeks out.
Okay.
So, Mr. Poole, just to confirm, the majority of the information on this list we can expect sometime in the summer?
If so, of course, the fiscal and financial projections for the school district, those are coming no matter what. If so directed by the board, there would be no delay. We would be working on that list as quickly as possible to get that information to the board. It's hard to say whether that be at the end of June or at some point in July, but we would work as expeditiously as possible to provide as much information for the board to make an informed decision.
The other piece of this is looking at attachment C. I'm just wondering, it says potential maintenance capital projects for 22-23. This list was put together with the idea that we would do them as capital projects, right? So I just wonder, when you look at it from a bond perspective, does that change some of the items that are on the list? Are there additional items that potentially long-term, and I'm talking 5-year, plan, that maybe we should be considering as a board, not just looking at the list and saying, this is the next bond? I'm wondering,
Well, again, my opinion would be that's what community input is, right?
Yeah.
You have community members attend, you be presented in meetings, you have, engagement, you have people volunteering to serve, and these are just some, again, these items that I mentioned last week, these are just items that, we've been discussing for years. Some are new that came up out of need, like, planning for UPK classrooms, security upgrades. These are things that may not have been on the list 5 years ago or even last year.
Yeah, but I think there's other items, for instance, right? The use of Briarcliff, that could impact, right?
Yeah,
Whatever we get from that. I know what you're saying.
You can't wait for Briarcliff to be sold because we'd be trying to sell it for 4 years.
But I think it's important to understand where we're going as a district with our projects. So, in terms of, that's why I was asking the questions that I was asking, the very pointed questions. What kind of timeline are we getting to get more data, right? To make a better, more informed decision. And so far, I don't want to hold them to the date, obviously, but it seems like we're talking about another month or two to at least get idea of utilization for state aid. That's going to help us focus on what could we create a bond project out of, right? Because that's going to limit our bond.
Well, but again, you're making assumptions, we're only at 34%, right? I'm not.
I don't know,
spending-
yeah, that's,
I mean,
I don't
well,
know
that's
if
where
it
we
is.
are, right? That's where our.
Oh, you're talking about general state aid?
Yeah, it was the 34%.
But I thought there was a
You don't
limit.
get more or less
No,
based on.
I thought we were limited by building.
No, you are,
Yeah.
you may be capped out, but we're also then making the claim for residents that regardless, right, whether or not rise classrooms or greenhouse, something they may or may not want, or may want, we're not giving them the option to vote on that, even if it's gonna be, you know, with limited state aid.
So Mike, I
It's a
agree
separate
with you.
payment. I mean, people should be allowed to express their, come out and vote, you know, is this gonna be impactful to your students?
Mike, I agree with you. Community input is incredibly important. I think this board feels this way and believes that. I just think that these items are needed prior to us having that conversation.
What I'm hoping we can do is wait a couple of months and get the additional information that has been worked on, and then that way we can look at the idea of establishing a bond committee with a clearer picture to offer our community. Certainly, the community input is valued and necessary, and I'm not saying we shouldn't necessarily put a bond vote up in May. I'm just saying let's.
If you're waiting a few months, how could we get up in May?
The way that you described it last week was that it,
Well, okay.
where you had a shorter timeline, and you did not even have a list yet of items that needed to be vetted. So I'm not suggesting that it's this May, 100% for certain, but I'm saying that last time it seems like you were able to accomplish a lot on a shorter timeline with a winter vote, and this time, you know, we'll be able to provide the community with, in the framework of our strategic plan, with information, because our architects will be the one presenting, the administration is going to be the one presenting, so I don't see how we can ask, the Board of Education is not going to be presenting on this, so just don't see how we can ask an establishment of a committee that's going to be presented to by these individuals when they're not finished getting the information to us that we asked them to get us.
I don't have to agree, so you guys
No,
discuss it.
Okay. All right, well, I will just ask that the administration continue to, I don't think the majority of the board is asking you to accelerate in any sort of way that jeopardizes the current work that you're doing toward the strategic plan, with a variety of different goals and moving parts, but to continue the work of providing the board with the fiscal picture that will then be presented to the community as well over the summer. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting and go into second exec for collective bargaining negotiations? Mike, second Jim, all in favor? 5-0.